N-
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sum It Up. Before we can talk about what's next in technology, leadership, and innovation, we have to recognize the people who have helped build it. So today on Sum It Up, we are so excited to be joined by a leader who didn't just enter those rooms, she helped build them. Sandi Lewis is not only a Mexican-American technology executive, she is a builder of systems, a co-architect of scale, and a leader who has operated at the highest levels of business. But the best part about that, she did that all while staying grounded in purpose and identity and culture. She was a co-founder of the Zayo Group, helping to build that company to over $15 billion, a powerhouse, one of the most successful companies of its time. But what makes Sandi's story so powerful is not just what she built, but how she built it. In rooms where often she was the only Latina, she didn't just navigate complexity, she mastered it. She brought data, discipline, innovation to every table that she sat at, including when she served on the board of the LLI. Today, Sandi is helping to lead what's next, from quantum to climate innovation, continuing to operate on the edge of possibility while opening doors for others to follow. This conversation is more than just Sandi's career journey. It's about her perspective, conversations around power, and impact. So don't forget to add your questions and comments in there for Sandi. We'll try to do our best to get through them. But Harry and I are just so honored to get to share this time with you, my dear friend. Sandi, welcome to the show.
Gosh, I didn't have time to get coffee, but I feel this and remember this feeling of being with you so often, where we would just share some coffee and have a chat, and that's what this feels like. So thank you so much for having me. I am so honored to be part of this community, and it's just such a blessing. So thank you again.
Yeah, we are long overdue for not just coffee, but wine.
Yes.
We like to enjoy a good glass of wine together. And Harry's in town, so maybe we can make that happen.
That's right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we'll get started today, Sandi. And, I've had the awesome privilege of getting to meet your most adorable parents and know about your background. But we love to start there with our guests and really just share a little bit about your early years and how those had an influence and how they shaped you.
Gosh, so we're starting at the trailhead is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, we all have our stories and our origin stories, and I moved away from talking about it so much because it really is this black and white space in my life where I grew up in government assisted housing. It's just everything you'd expect. I was just this little Hispanic girl, pigtails so tight that my eyes went back, and but I always had this feeling of being unimportant, unworthy, and trapped. And in my memories, it's very, very black and white. I don't know if that's because it was so dirty there or just because that's what my memory's chosen to do. And kind of within that memory is still this love. And when I shift from thinking about that to the parents and my family, my community, there's this pink light that shows up. And if you'll bear with me for a second, I'm going to tell you about the moment that I shifted from that black and white space to the space where I was able to move on. And it starts with joining the 6th grade track team. It was 1979. That's how old I am. And I had one pair of shoes. They were not track shoes. They were some ugly brown shoes with a rubber sole. And we had no money. And my dad said, "We're going to the Athlete's Foot." And my mom was like, "Yes, we're going to the mall." And I don't know if you remember the Athlete's Foot. I think it's still around. It has this red logo of a shoe. And red plays a big, you always think about all the senses when you're remembering, but I remember this red shoe on the outside. And then I went in and there was this pair of, God, what were they? I'm going to say it wrong, Onasaku or whatever. They were the Tiger shoes that were out at the time, the ones I think Nike started with. And it was up on the stand. There's this light shining. I was like, "Oh!" And they were red. And I was like, "Oh, man, I got to have those shoes." And my dad's like, "Try them on." I was like, "Okay, let's try them on." I put those shoes on, and those were like magic shoes. You put them on your feet, and you're like, like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz or Cinderella. These were the shoes. And I was like, oh, I gotta have those shoes. And then I saw a tag, and the tag said they were on sale. They were red. It was red tag. And I was like, oh my God, this is like red everywhere. But then I saw the price, and the price was $30. And back in 1979, it might as well have been $30,000. I mean, that's where we were at. And my little heart, I had been in that moment for maybe 4 seconds of, oh, I'm so happy. There's possibility, then to extreme disappointment. My family couldn't afford this. We were $2 shoe family, and that was a stretch, right? And then my dad said the magic words to the salesman. He's like, ring them up. And I was like, Dad, how can we afford this? And he goes, honey, don't worry about it. The universe will provide. And I was like, what is this universe thing? And how do I tap into
that?
That memory just stuck with me, that there was something bigger than what I was. And just so you know, those shoes, I have a lot of stories about those shoes, and I've told you those stories over the years, but I didn't become an Olympic athlete. I, barely can run. Nothing really great happened from those shoes other than it opened up this world of possibility in this world of color in this black and white world. And I think all of us have that moment where you shift out of just what you're contained in, and that disappointment and that darkness, into light. And that's the moment for me anyway. That was the defining moment. Now, if you ask my dad today, because I was like, Dad, so where did you learn manifesting? He tells me it's Eckhart Tolle. And I'm like, that came way later. Where did you actually learn this? I don't know where that came from. Maybe it's the Mandela effect, but that's the moment that kind of defined possibility for me.
That's incredible.
Incredible. And the entire time I've known you, you've manifested that not just for yourself, but those around you. So it's interesting to know that was the starting point.
Yeah, day one.
Yeah.
Sandi, I want to ask you, and it's a little piggyback on that question that Joelle just asked, but you've been in some rooms that very few women and very few Latinas have been into, and we're going to dig into that. But in different moments in your professional life, when you had moments of reflection, and that reflection took you back to your upbringing, what points in time, you just told the powerful story about the 6-year-old, but what kind of your upbringing, your life and your family, sometimes are these reflective moments when you're in these rooms of power and influence?
Gosh, so at first I never felt worthy. You still always kind of, that black and white room still comes back. Comes back hard when you walk into a room. You're with all these people that have made it in your mind. They all have their own stories, but in that moment you walk in, I don't deserve to be here. But there's still that pride, that family pride that comes with you. And that pride is like, okay, I'm showing up. I don't just represent me, I represent the whole community, right? I represent my parents, my family, and our Latino community. I mean, one of the labels I have is, trailblazer. I'm the only woman that, has been broken through that glass. And go back to the 1970s, we were 4% of the population, right? The Latino community. We were about 8 million strong. We were largely first generation, and we were just fighting to get our foot through the door. So by the time we got into where I was getting into boardrooms, which was in the 2000s, we had grown tremendously, probably to 8% of the population, 10%, maybe even 15%. And the dynamic had shifted to, you have something to prove. Now, what I'll say is, going into a boardroom isn't showing up with hubris or, I made it, I'm here. It's, what value can I add? And Harry, I've served on boards with you. When you show up, I do have a value to add, and I'm going to add that value come hell or high water. I don't care who tells me not to, which frankly has pissed a lot of people off. They're like, I don't want to hear your point. And I'm like, you know what? This is not because I need to speak. It's because there's value to be added. I need to say something that's important to the conversation. And to get to that point, you really have to study. You have to read. You have to get out there. I never had a mentor as a child. I don't know if it was in our community or public school, but I didn't have a guidance counselor. I had no one to talk to other than family and community. I read. I checked my Audible library before we got in here, just to give you an idea of how much I listen. I don't get to read as much as I like to anymore, although I have walls of books. If you ever come to my house, you'll see walls. But I have 2,600 books in my Audible library. That's how much I consume. And when I was a kid, I used to go to the library, just consume. And before we had meetings, I'd go out and I'd do all the research. I'd listen to earnings calls from all of our competitors. I'd gather enough information so I'd be prepared when we came in, not prepared to speak, but prepared to listen and then to add value where it was appropriate. And that's how I approached boardrooms. And being a Latina, that's always in the back of your mind, right? It's like people are looking at you. How are they judging me? Can I represent? Can I help people where I need to provide help? But it's knowing value, delivering that value, and nothing more, right?
Yeah. This is so top of mind. Last week, I got to share stage with our other dear friend, Sandy Catherine Archuleta. And we were talking about the fact on stage. She was saying, she had someone in her career that reminded her of her value, because there are those times that self-doubt creeps up. And I'm very lucky because I've had you and Catherine in my life to remind me at times. I mean, you do such a great job of reminding people of their value. And, I hope we do that for one another from time to time, because it is beyond intimidating, and you could be as prepared as possible. But there is, when you look around and no one shares your background, no one understands the importance of a red pair of shoes being, instrumental in your life, it is hard to find your space. So how do you continue to build that confidence? How do you surround yourself with people? What role have individuals played in helping you continue to know your value and live it?
Gosh, I've had some great mentors. I've been so fortunate. I mean, Dan Caruso has probably been my biggest mentor. Met him back in the 90s and kind of followed him around to different companies. But he's able to see the world in a different place. And that's hard for people. I mean, people instantly reject that, right? Whatever you're doing that's different, people are like, it's wrong. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, for me, it vibed. I'm like, there is a different perspective. Let's go check that out. So he was an amazing mentor. He taught me so much, and frankly is part of my journey in actually accumulating a lot of wealth. That I owe to him. Another one is Meg Porfido. I don't know if you guys know her. She was the chief of staff of Governor Romo. And she showed up at level 3 at a time where I was really having an identity crisis. It was a very, very white male engineer group who treated me as poorly as they possibly could. I mean, I was the cleaning lady of that company. I did, if there was a crappy project, it went my way. If it went well, someone else took credit for it. It was just tough. But what Meg did for me is she let me be me. She showed up and she said, you are valuable. You can speak. You should share that with us. I have questions. Answer them. She wasn't about a power play. She wasn't narcissistic. She was just human. And she taught me how women should be in the workplace, which was just such a joy to be around her. Joelle, you're someone who's an inspiration. If I could speak like Joelle, I mean, I don't know where she gets that from, but man, that girl was fire. So true. The people that you start to encounter, Teresa Taylor, we talked about work-life balance. She was there for me at that exact moment that I retired, and I was having a really big identity crisis. And at that moment in time, she was just there for me and talking about things and just having those right people at the right time, but also going back to books. If you can't find that right mentor, find that right book, right? Martin Luther King, I used to listen. There's a speech, the speech that he gives. I have a dream. You can listen to that online. And whenever I'm feeling down or feeling a little downtrodden, I pull that out and listen to it. I'm like, yes, we can do it. Oh my God, it's so amazing. So it's all of that. And, there's Neville Goddard who talks about manifesting. He's got all these different books. And when you're looking for that inspiration, you're like, universe, show me a sign. Open his book and look at it. He'll just open it to a random page. You're like, yes, that's what I was looking for. So that's where I think a lot of my inspiration comes from. My husband, he's fabulous, man. This guy, he played professional football. He was big, but he wanted to be an investment banker. So he talked his way into Kellogg. And the way that they describe him on his board is this man runs through concrete walls. No one tells him no, ever. Right? Ross Carbon, you're in a carbon capture situation. Trump got into office and all of a sudden climate was not real. Climate change isn't happening. I'm like, okay, you can't wish that away. But you're facing all of these challenges. That man just keeps going. Every day he gets up, he's positive. He's like, you know what, the world's going to change and we're going to make it better. And those are people in your life, right? And then there's Harry. I got to tell you, anytime that I am feeling a little down. So for some reason, I don't know if it's on Harry's radar, but he's like, hey, Sandy, just wanted to reach out. I'm like, how did you know? How did you know? How did you know I needed that smile and that inspiration? But
Totally.
letting people like you into their lives. This is just, it's what it's all about. And if I could just tell you one story, this is so weird. This morning I woke up and I said, universe, give me a sign that I am on the right track. And I was walking my dogs. I was over here on Aurora campus, and a yogi walks up to me. I know this is the strangest thing ever, but this yogi walks up to me. He said, I'm going to give you 3 books. I swear, I'm going to show you this. He hands me these 3 books on campus. I'm walking with my dog. These are big, heavy books. And he's like, you take these. And I said, well, I don't have any money. I've got nothing with me. I'm walking my dogs. I got a poo bag. And he's like, no, you take these. This is my gift to you today. And I was like, wow, where does that come from? So, I mean, you gotta kind of just ask and receive what's there for you and take what you can from it. Take the right lessons that you can in the moment.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry. That was a today moment.
But no, those words, I'm sending them back to you like threefold, because you are just an incredible inspiration for me, Sandy. And one thing, and I'm going to keep coming back to this because, and I know you feel the same, your journey into this boardroom, and I talk about this boardroom a lot, and there's so few of us that have ever been in there, and we have to, that is just something we have to improve greatly, right? But you've been in a room very few have been in, and I want you to speak around kind of demystifying the boardroom. And I think about when President Obama said, you know, I sit in these rooms with all these powerful people, and it's not that they're not smart, and it's not that they're not powerful, but you walk in with this vision because so few of us have been there, and you realize, no, these are just regular people too, and they may have had access to things I didn't. But I absolutely believe that, you know, and at some point you start to understand that you should be there, you deserve to be there. Talk about your experience in there and what is it really like in there, because even people listening here, so few have ever been in there, and I know they have this idea of what happens in those 4 walls and who belongs in those 4 walls. And like demystifying, give them like this reality picture of what it's really about and what it takes to be in there.
Yeah, I'll do that. Give me 1 second. So I would take you back to the manifesting thing. When I was working as an executive and I was looking toward retirement, I said, I want to be on 5 boards. But I don't just want to be on 5 boards. I want to be on 5 boards with people that I love, that I want to show up with and I want to build something with. Because part of being on a board, I think, is scary. It's like, what if I don't like these people? And there's some people that you're like, I just don't vibe with them. I'm going to show up, and every time I show up, they're going to try to put me down or make me feel small instead of amplifying and making me feel big. And what I've really experienced is every board I've been on, I've only agreed to be on that board if I love the people. So what I will tell you about boards is they're all different. And some of them are scary, and some of them do make you feel small. And if that's what you aspire to be, as the small person on a big board, yeah, power to you, but that's not me. What I would say is the people that I've served on boards with are trying to solve a problem. They're working on a mission. So they're very, very mission driven. So when you think about being on a board, you think about, what is that mission that they're going after? Do I believe in that mission, and can we work together? I mean, being on a board is about achieving mission. It's about risk, right? It's about legal, operational, and financial risk. How do you make sure that the company's aligning and getting to those places? So it's not really sexy. It's not fun. Operating is fun. Being on a board is more governance. But showing up for people you want, but manifesting it, saying that is what I want. I want to be on a board with a mission I believe in, with people that I want to be with. And seeking that out, not just I want to be on a board to be on a board. And a lot of times that starts with a not-for-profit board, right? Finding a mission that you believe in, like the Latina Leadership Institute, where you're serving a mission that you really enjoy. You meet people on that board. And one of the people I met is Federico Pena, and Federico mentors me all the time. I should have mentioned him earlier in the mentor section. Anytime I have a question, we live in the same building. He shows up in the elevator. I'm like, Federico, you're here. I have a question. Oh my God, can I ask you this? And I only have a couple seconds. I have to have my elevator pitch down. But at the end, we'll stop in the lobby. He'll give me an answer, and goes about his day. But having those people that you meet on boards and not-for-profit boards and in communities like this tend to lead to opportunities. And you have to think about what are those things that are really important to you. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes.
That's actually a perfect segue. And by the way, Sandi, our good friend Diane Garcia just joined us. So speaking of level 3, it's like you conjured her up from the universe. But actually, that's perfect segue, because something you and I have talked about over the years is just how you navigate really successful careers, being an ambitious professional woman, and also having responsibility with family and, making those decisions. And I'll never forget, I think it was actually in the book, Stephanie Johnson's book, when she was interviewing you talked about moments on the board where others would actually try to, shutter you out and say, don't you have to go home? And you're like, I know how to make my decisions about where to be and when to show up. So talk to us about that, because, you don't get to have it all at the same time. You have to make decisions. And if you're talking to a younger, professional today, mom, what are you telling them that you learned through your own experience?
Oh man, this gets to authenticity. So I think the world's a different place than it was, and I could rehash all of the things that we went through, but it doesn't apply today. I mean, there are so many more opportunities for women than we had growing up, but you still have the same decisions, right? What's important to you? Is family important to you? Is career important to you? And what I would say, I understand now that I didn't then, is you have to focus on the feelings that you want in your life. And you have to start to live those feelings in the real moment. So did I want to be, a CIO at a telecommunications company? Heck no, I didn't want to be a CIO. That was never in the cards for me. What I wanted was to show up in a place where I could contribute to the planet. And I wanted to wear this black dress. I'm not wearing it today. You're probably surprised.
Totally. But I bet your Uggs are near.
Yeah. I wore Uggs today while I was walking on campus. But yeah, I had this vision of who I was and how I wanted to show up and what I wanted to feel every day. And strangely, when you start to figure that out, and you start to live that feeling, that's where the opportunities start to show up, right? So I want to feel like this person who could wear this beautiful black suit dress every day. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I feel like someone who actually washes their face and puts on makeup. It isn't just in their athleisure every day. I feel like a mom whose kids respect her and want her to be successful. That's the feeling I want, right? I don't want to feel like I'm in this constant turmoil of, oh my God, we got to do all these things. It doesn't mean that you don't have to do meal prep once a week. It doesn't mean that your Saturday mornings are getting up at 4 a.m. to do work so then you can take your kids to soccer practice. It doesn't mean that those things don't exist, but you figure out that feeling and you live that feeling now. You don't wait for it, right? That's the only advice I could give to someone is, what do you want to feel and what are you waiting for?
Sandi, you mentioned you never envisioned or didn't want to be a CIO of a telecom, but
no.
Let's talk about a little bit from your story running the track shoes as a sixth grader, how did you end up in telecom infrastructure network, which, as you know, by the way, if we talk about sectors and industries where there's very few, now there's very, 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 very few. How did you end up there? How was your path into that industry, that sector?
Yeah, so this gets to understanding systems, tools, and processes, which is the boring part of my story. But I'll tell it anyway. When I'm spending time in the library and I'm looking at things, I am really, really attracted to nonfiction books. I'm probably 90% nonfiction. So reading about different companies, reading about different people who've been successful. And what I'll tell you is the moment in time where I was graduating from school, there was this thing called Moore's Law. And what Moore's Law said was, I think you get 2 times the number of transistor chips on a silicon wafer every year, costs come down, and then more people can get chips, power of compute goes up, and then it's kind of this virtuous cycle. And then there's another law that's been around probably about the same amount of time called Wright's Law, which means that you can predictably understand how costs come down with scale, meaning the more you produce, the more scale you have. So those are 2 laws that apply to business. And when you're looking at what businesses you want to go into, you think, all right, does this business make sense? Can it scale? If it does scale, will it drive more demand and innovation? And will it make sense? Okay, so that's the icky part. I'm going to tell you a story about it instead, which you might vibe with. I've tried to tell it around skiing because that's more me. I've never surfed, but if you look at the Wayback Y Combinator, I can't find the video, so I may be making this up. But one of the guys who was in Y Combinator early on described surfing. And what he said was, once you identify the right thing, and that's where those laws come in, right? The right business, that's one thing. But you also have to, as a surfer, you have to know how to surf, right? You have to be an expert, but you have to find that perfect wave. So when does the economy turn and say, it's time to jump on that wave and go? And then it's like, it's go time, let's do this. So where I think I've been lucky and applied skill is, where's the right wave? Well, obviously the internet was a big freaking wave, right? Telecom was the flywheel around that. We were able to increase bandwidth capacity, lower cost, and jump on that and provide all of this bandwidth to the world. So that one made perfect sense. Okay, then the next one I did was quantum. I was the general manager of a quantum computing company called Inflection. They just recently went public, Inflection. That one too, quantum's been around forever. People have been working on this since the 70s. Well, why jump on it now? Well, right now it's starting to gain traction. The wave is growing. That perfect wave is there. So you had all those years where you could have just been grinding away, sitting in a little office, waiting for the next layoff because you run out of money, just as you do R&D, right? But right now is that moment. So I'm watching quantum take off right now. It's like, yes, go, right? And then you got AI. So data centers. I serve on the audit committee of DataVault, which is a Saudi Arabian, right? They're bringing data centers to MENA or to the Middle East, Africa, that whole area. And right now it's AI. AI is driving everything. So you need data centers because AI doesn't exist in the cloud, even though they call it the cloud. The cloud's literally a data center, right? And they're doing it around clean energy. And then Frost Carbon is where I'm interim general manager, so I'm there for a minute, but it's about how do you provide firm, clean energy to support all of these technologies that are happening, right? You have massive energy demand. You also have a climate crisis that no one's talking about. How do you provide energy throughout that? So that's the wave, right? You find the right, let's get back to the boring stuff, the right technology that's producing massive scale while costs are coming down so people can rate that, and then you find the wave. So hopefully that answers your question. That's how my brain thinks.
I mean, to get into Sandi's brain.
Chaotic place. And if you get there, it's better with wine.
I'll take up residency. And honestly, I can speak that. I know that, like sitting with you sometimes, and I know Harry and I are both sitting here having really exciting conversations as our own organization and really understanding finding our own wave and those two things needing to come together. So I manifested you today because I needed to hear all of this, right, Harry?
Absolutely.
But I want to talk a little bit too, because the other place that you've played that most of us have not is on the other side of it, not just building and operating and imagining, but you have also played a role as an investor. And that's a really important role for us to begin to talk more and more about in our community. Tell us a little bit about your role going from creator to investor and why that plays an important role in you wanting to make an impact.
Yeah, so 100%, especially in our community. And Harry, you post about this all the time on LinkedIn, which is we have to invest in our own people, right? We have to invest in things that we love. So actually, one of my most recent investments, unfortunately, it's not in the Latino community, but I'll talk about it. It's a company called Kiavi. A guy I worked with at level 3. So it's always about those relationships. His name is Mike Osborne. He's the CEO. And they've come up with this cybersecurity platform that actually puts cybersecurity inside of documents. So inside the treasure instead of protecting the 4 walls. And I was like, oh my God, that's genius. So of course I'll invest in that because that makes sense. It's ways that they're changing the world. So people are coming up with investments all the time. I get pitched probably 100 pitches a day that come through LinkedIn. When I look at investing, there's number one, if it's in the Latino community, I'm much more likely to invest, period, right? I've invested in Latino Leadership Institute. I want that to be successful because I believe in that mission of helping entrepreneurs who need a hand up, right? They need to come up. How do I learn a little bit more, and how do I learn from people that are out there? But it's also about looking at those investments that come in, and do they have that flywheel? Do they have that Moore's law or Wright's law capability? Is the wave at the right time? And let's go. I used to invest just based on whether I knew someone. I'd be like, okay, this person's a friend and I'll invest. And I tell you, I lost my shorts so many times, and I also lost friendships, which I don't enjoy. So I've become a little bit more disciplined about it. My husband and I also, I've invested in Frost Carbon because that mission is so big, and they are kind of in the valley of the shadow of death right now, which is where you're in that R&D and you're waiting for that big project. And then we invest in real estate. So I call it our travel funded life, which is we invest in resort real estate one at a time, not buying a resort, but buying one unit in a resort. And we rent those out. And that's kind of our other business. And I'm going to be doing another business. I'm doing it in my spare time right now, which is like zero. So it could take a few months, but it's really teaching people how to manifest and teaching people some of these things that I am the best manifester you've ever met. I'm going to put that out there. I don't know anyone who can manifest like me, and I just want to teach other people how to do it.
Sign me up. I'm ready. Any investors, you know where to find me. I can use some manifestation in my life these days.
Girlfriend, I will tell you how.
Hey, Sandi, I want to ask you one layer about that as you an investor, because obviously you look at the business, the sector, the returns, the numbers, all of that. There's that side of it always. Mm-hmm. And there's this psychological, emotional. What about kind of your upbringing in your life is also a part of your investment approach?
Gosh, so my parents were teachers, and in fact, they were teachers later. So they went to school to become teachers while I was a kid. We grew up together. They had me at age 20. I think they finally finished school probably when I was 15. So I learned to learn. I learned to be alone. I was an only child. I didn't have a lot of friends to go out and, like I guess I had friends to play with, but I had no one at home to play with. So when I was home, I read. It's how you process information, Harry. It's how do you seek knowledge and truth, and how do you not stop until you understand? I think a lot of times you hear people explain things and you're like, gosh, that doesn't make sense. I'm not smart enough. I'm not wired that way. I'm like, if that didn't make sense, I need to figure it out. So how am I going to figure it out? So I ask a lot of questions, you know that. I have a question, someone answer, but it's also, I have a question, and then I also go do a ton of research. I told you, I'll go and listen to every earnings call, every competitor that's out there. I listen to podcasts. The reason I walk my dog so much is because I want to have that book in my ear so I could just listen while I'm walking. It's like no one can disturb me here, right? It's me and my dogs out walking. So it's about really doing that research, understanding, and then also that spark, right? You have the spark of the entrepreneur, someone who's going to do it for you because, gosh, I'm getting tired. I don't want to do it all myself anymore. So you find that person. Yeah. You're like, okay, I believe in this person. I believe in what they're doing. I understand where they fit in the competition. I understand that there's a certain market around there. We call it, right? What's the TAM for this? So it's a good market, meaning there's a great wave. All those things come together, and I'll invest. And then I guess the other part is at what stage do you invest, right? I have a lot of investments in the boring stuff like mutual funds and dividend stocks and real estate. But if I'm going to invest in a company, I want to be able to talk about that company with people and say, this is really cool, like what Kiavi's doing, what Frost Carbon's doing. Say, I'm investing in this really cool company, and we're going with them on this journey.
It's incredible. It's so important because, I know as you talk about, there's the business and then there's the founder and the leader, and you got to believe in both. And so that's that other part of it. Is this the right person that can do it? Everything else, all the other boxes can be checked, right?
100%. And they have to have integrity. And they have to be someone I want to spend time with. Again, if you're a jerk, I'm not investing in your company. There's no way.
Yeah.
Oh, Sandi, I could talk to you all day. I really could. I mean,
I only got through a few of my questions. I got a lot more.
I know. There's so much to talk about. Sandi 2.0. I mean, and this is, we built this show just to kind of take this back and really connect the dots between why you are just more than a dear friend, but someone that Harry and I really admire and go to often for advice. We started Summit Up, Sandi, in large part because we were entering a time of great unknown. and, significant challenges last year. And the thing that always gives us motivation and also keeps us grounded is community and being in community. And we called it Summit Up, and we called our other work Cumbre, which you know very much about, because we believe we rise together. When we come together, we rise. And that we play on the double meaning of both. So as we close out today, one of the, I mean, you're brilliant in the boardroom, you're brilliant on the investor side. We learn from you all the time, but what most people may not know is just your love and commitment to community. You serve on many boards, you invest in many community things. And I'd like you to kind of close out giving the community just a little bit of hope, a little bit of inspiration. What does that community mean to you? And then the final question is, we ask everyone this: what is your next summit? What are you doing next? What is, when you think about that next milestone or something for you personally, professionally, what is your next summit?
Gosh, we'd start with community, which is you guys, right? It's the gift that you give to me. When you are alone, you can only achieve so much. When you're with a community and you have people to tap into, and even people, when someone taps into me, it usually gives me an idea. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you believe that we're talking about this? Do you remember when we talked about the Steve Schwartzman quote?
So one of the resources I'm going to give everyone a list of all the books and podcasts from DraftKings to I've read it all because of you. Yes, but tell them why you told me to read that book, because it really is.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the quote. I actually brought it in here because I don't want to get it wrong, because it's so perfect. So he says, if you're going to commit yourself to something, it could either be something big or something small, but you're going to attribute you're going to give your energy and your time to both. And then he says this word, he says, the fantasy. This is where we get back to feeling and manifesting, right? The fantasy has to be worthy of your pursuit. And the rewards have to be commensurate with your effort. Those are words to live by. I wish that was my quote, man. But again, he's the CEO of Blackstone, so he's doing way more than me. But that quote nails it. And I remember, Joelle, you came to me one time, we were talking about things, and I was like, dude, you got to go for it. You can do something small or you can do something big, and it's going to cost you the same amount of time. What is that fantasy? What do you want to achieve? Right? Is it worth it? And what is the reward once you achieve it? That's what you got to figure out. That man described, he's not a guru, right? He's not Neville Garter or The Secret. He described manifesting to a T. That is the secret. That quote, that book. What is the name of the book? The book is What It Takes: Lessons from a CEO. If you haven't read that book, Latino Community, he's not a Latino, but he's speaking to me. Read that book. It will inspire you.
Hey,
okay, and then my next summit, I told you already, I hinted at this. The next thing I'm doing, and there will be a website, it'll be called Sandi and Brent, that's Sandi and Brent.com. Starting with a website, then hopefully we'll do a YouTube channel where helping people manifest. Because it really, you can't manifest when you are in a state. So if you're in a state of lack and you're like, you know what, nothing's working out for me. Oh my God. And then you're like, but I'm going to sit down for 5 minutes and meditate and say, these are all the things I want. You know what you're going to get? You're going to get the state of mind that you're in all the time. You're going to get that negativity. So how do you break out of that? How do you vividly understand the feelings that you want and you start living them? Even if you can't live them fully, you live that every single day. So I have been trying not to do this because I think there's nothing to gain from it for me. It's just so weird. And people are like, you're this tech person, whatever. So I asked the universe today, I said, if I should be doing this, because it's a lot of work and I probably will lose money, I probably won't make money. So send me a sign. And then they sent me to this guy, he handed me these 3 books. And I didn't want to take this Krishna books. I have no idea what's in it, but he said George Harrison or someone from the Beatles had actually signed it. Like, this is not this real one, but signed the original copy. So he showed me, he's like, here, look, the Beatles love it. You'll love it too. And I said, you know what, there's probably some message in there in this book for me. So you ask the universe for signs. Say, if I'm on the right track, drop a penny for me to find and pick up. And that happens. And then when I don't find a penny, I'm like, maybe I need to rethink this strategy. It's very woo-woo, but that's the life I live at, age 58. So that's my next summit, trying to help people. And I can't mentor everyone. People ask me for time all the time. There's not enough hours in a day. I can't buy time, but what I can do is share with more people.
I don't even know what to say. I needed you so much today. We
Yes,
needed
yes.
you so much today. There's so much in here that reminding us of our value, reminding us we need people in our lives to reinforce that, reminding us that there's these pieces of our past that guide us to the future. That quote, Sandi, I have paid that forward many times over. You can ask many executive directors and CEOs and some of our business leaders that we're working with and supporting. I actually share that same quote with them. I do. And I say, my dear friend Sandi sat me down one day and said, Joelle, let me tell you something, right? Dream big, have the big fantasies, right? That's sometimes, especially in our community, we're really afraid. I just wrote an article a week ago about being audacious enough to be bold. And sometimes that's really hard for people to understand and support and get behind. And you, my friend, are a person well ahead of your time. There is so much I could talk to you about, but all I have is just pride and gratitude for you. You have given me and us today, Harry, like, right? We needed this time with her right now in the moment we're living and navigating.
No question. That importance of when you talked about that state of mind in your mindset, business leaders, athletes, and the ones that dream and doesn't matter. It matters everything that's happening in the world, no question about it. But you're going to be so impactful with the way that you talk about manifestation and belief in yourself, because that's the core of everything. So I'm pleased to hear it. I'll be a listener, watcher, whatever. Invite me to enjoy it. But like Joel said, it's an honor and a pleasure to know you and to be your friend.
You guys are the best.
Well, you're the best. Everyone, thank you for joining today. You have so much love coming in, Sandi, from the folks that listen today. They are inspired. They are aspiring because of you. So, my friend, be well. And to everyone, we'll see you on the next Summit Up. Take care.
Bye.